The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of Choice 105.3 or its advertisers.
Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need.
Listen.
Caller, you want to tell me and then we tell you what.
Learn.
My passion first is for young men to be what we used to call in the boys' brigade, sure and steadfast.
Tell me. A Choice program on Thursdays from 8 to 10 p.m. It's eye-opening.
Hello. I want to tell the people them be careful what they call these people. Anybody calling us trash, we're going to lick you and we're going to lick you real hard.
Thought-provoking.
You old people you're calling outsiders.
No. Interesting.
Hush your mouth, because you don't even know the facts. Oral Martin should have make it his business to notify NNC.
Oh, you work at NNC?
And let me know.
And entertaining. Tell me. Heard all over the world on www.choicefm1053.com. What have you got to say? Calling on area code 869-469-5300. From the USA or Canada, call 203-983-8903. From your cell phone, call 662-5304 or text 1053 or email tellmechoice@yahoo.com. Nivisions, near and far, your chance to call in on Tell Me on Choice Community Radio.
Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, baby.
Seabridge SKN announces their daily schedule between St. Kitts and Nevis. The boat departs Nevis at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. That's 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. The boat leaves St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. That's leaving St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. Seabridge SKN, bridging the gap.
Yeah, my name is Chris Martin and dancing to the fullest. You don't know. I'm here to say from you want investment, development, and good education for the kids. Me have to big up NRP. You don't know. Smartin, representing for the NRP massive. Love yourself, believe in yourself. You're very important. Hashtag NRP a big deal. Alright, listen up. VIP, NRP, them a VIP. Nevis and Navisions, them a VIP. Ask anybody, NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. This has nothing to do with money or fame or vanity. This one is all for Nevis' worth. So big up your chest if you love the land of your birth, cause NRP will give you maximum effort. So whether you walk or you a drive car, no matter if you're white or black like tar, NRP vibes is to uplift your star. Push up on the one and tell all the haters we a big deal. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP, easy. Yeah, my name is Chris Martin and dancing to the fullest. You don't know. I'm here to say from you want investment, development, and good education for the kids. Me have to big up NRP. You don't know. Smartin, representing for the NRP massive. Love yourself, believe in yourself. You're very important. Hashtag NRP a big deal. Alright, listen up. VIP, NRP, them a VIP. Nevis and Navisions, them a VIP. Ask anybody, NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. important for him. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for real. This has nothing to do with money or fame or vanity. This one is all for Nevis' work.
Very special good evening to our radio listeners in tune to Choice Community Radio 105.3 FM. Thursday, the 27th day of July 2017. My name is Sean Springett, and as usual, every Thursday evening from 8 until 10 p.m., there's a program on Choice called Tell Me. This is a program that is dedicated to you, our radio listeners. You ask for a voice, and we gave you choice. We ask you to participate with us for a full 2 hours to discuss issues pertaining to our beautiful island of Nevis. If you have any suggestions, any comments, any criticisms, whatever it may be, once it comes off respectful, we will lend an ear to hear what you have to say. I'm alongside Mr. Tulu Weeks and our host of the program, Mr. Carlisle Powell. Welcoming our listeners in St. Kitts, those who are following us online. And if you are in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, you can find us at 203-983-8903. And our phone numbers here at Choice, 469-5300. Find us on the internet on www.sknclt1053.com. And search for Choice Community Radio 105.3. Join us, and we are also back on Facebook. When Mr. Paul gets on, he'll give you the link for the Facebook address. Tulu, good evening to you.
Good evening, Sean, and good evening to one and all. God has given to us another wonderful privilege, another Thursday, lovely Thursday, whereby we can come into your homes and wherever you are, again sharing vital information with you that are factual, that we know will help you to make informed decisions as we go forward in this our social and political landscape. And so, listen, pay close attention, participate with us this evening.
And our host, Mr. Powell, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to all our listeners wherever you are. And if you're logged into the NRP Facebook page, you should be able to see us in just a little while. The technicians are still doing the work to make sure that we get that up and running so that we can be in your homes this evening. Gentlemen, we're going to start this evening by sending out condolences to the family of the late Deputy Governor General, Mr. Eustace John, who was a very long-serving Deputy Governor General for us here in Nevis. My understanding is that he passed sometime during the day, and so, of course, we'd want to send our condolences to him. He served in a variety of positions in the civil service of St. Kitts and Nevis, and indeed in Anguilla, because for some time he was stationed down in Anguilla, where he gave his service to the country. And then he served in St. Kitts and finally in Nevis as the Deputy Governor General. We're going to say more about that a little bit later, and I'm sure that you gentlemen will have your own reflections and your own things that you want to say about him. But as a cricketer myself, cricket administrator, I want to go down to St. Kitts and pay respects to the family of the late Edgar Gilbert, who I understand passed away. I think it might have been sometime today as well. I did not know Edgar Gilbert in his younger playing days because he started playing cricket, I think, before I was born. And what I knew of Edgar Gilbert was when he came back to represent St. Kitts, and he did that at the young age of 50. And even at age 50, you could see that he had some quality about him. And the people of St. Kitts recognized him. You know that there is the Edgar Gilbert playing field down there in St. Kitts. And so we want to give our condolences to his family and to all the families of other persons who may have passed and who we do not know of yet. Eustace John, gentlemen, both of you would have known him, would have seen him here in Nevis. And your thoughts, your reflections?
Well, I heard about his passing today, and it's sad that it happened right after well, within a couple of weeks of him leaving office. I don't know too much about him. I think you just told me, Mr. Powell, that he's from the Hanley's Road area.
Absolutely.
As from what I've seen of him, he seems to be very, very quiet. And it's sad, compared to his predecessor, Fred Paris. That is Fred Paris?
No.
No. You know who I meant? Weston Paris. It's almost two different personalities. I could remember Weston Paris, and I remember when he passed away when I was in high school. But I don't know too much about Eustace John, so I guess in the coming days more would be revealed about him.
Yeah, well, he did work at ZIZ for some time. I think he eventually ended up managing ZIZ. That is way back then. He was at Customs. He worked as the Accountant General, and he eventually became the Deputy Governor General for Nevis on the passing of Weston Paris. And so he retired from that position earlier this year, and the CCM administration has not seen it fit to appoint another Deputy Governor General. Maybe they are thinking that it is not important to have a Deputy Governor General, because in our recent information is that prosperity in St. Kitts is prosperity in Nevis. So if you have a Governor General in St. Kitts, he could sign for Nevis. So maybe it's not so important for them to do that. But be that as it may, of course, the people of Nevis would remember Eustace John, and they would remember his many years of service to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I'm sure that the government of Nevis will issue a statement in time, and that the leader of the opposition, the Honorable Joseph Walcott Parry, he too will issue a statement in time, because he worked with the Deputy Governor General closer than us, the line ministers. He as Premier would have worked closely with him, and Van Samri would have served with him longer than anybody else. So hopefully we will see the statements issued in time. Gentlemen, the Nevis Reformation Party wrapped up the first round of town hall meetings. And these town hall meetings went to every single constituency in Nevis, much as we did back in 2006 on the campaign trail, so that we could get the information out to the people, so that we can hear from the people, and so that they could make their contributions to the manifesto for the Nevis Reformation Party. We started in Barnsgot, in the constituency of St. Thomas's, left from there and found our way down to Brown Hill. And I said down because we are coming from up in the heights of Barnsgot all the way down to Brown Hill in St. John's. Then we crisscrossed, came back to Charlestown. And from Charlestown, we went over to the Franklin Brown Community Center in St. James. And then we went finally last night to the community center there at Hard Times in Gingerland. And in all of these meetings, the NRP was able to announce plans for each constituency and for the island of Nevis, and heard from all of the candidates for the Nevis Reformation Party. And indeed, we were able to listen to the people of Nevis. And there are some outstanding ideas which came out, which we will continue to discuss with the people of Nevis. But one of those ideas which came from that meeting up in Barnsgot, one of the campaign promises released by the Nevis Reformation Party was the idea of rent-to-own apartment buildings. And gentlemen, that has caught the imagination of those people in Nevis, both renters and persons who want to be homeowners. That has taken off and caught the imagination of people, and they keep asking questions day to day. And we said that there is a housing deficit in Nevis, and this is one of the ways to close that that gap.
Well, if you have that sense of, well, I shouldn't say curiosity, but people who are inquiring so much about home ownership, it shows that there's a void right there. Under the Nevis Reformation Party, we were speaking of some 300 homes in just about 6 years. And if we are still if there's still that big void with home ownership, it shows that this administration has broken its promise to the people. I'm not sure the numbers that they would have, that how many homes they would have built in 4 years, 4.5 years. I know it's no place close to what the NRP did, but I'm sure that in their campaign promises about home ownership, they would have told the people throughout the length and breadth of Nevis that they would be able to own their own homes. What would have stopped them, I don't know, is lack of vision, a lack of expertise in the area. But it shows now, based on what NRP is doing, and I'm really, really pleased with the town hall meetings that the NRP has had. It reminds me of, as you said, Mr. Powell, pre-2006, hearing from the people, going out and making one-on-one contact with the people, hearing what they have to say. And, that would make a big difference in this upcoming election, especially with the many broken promises that the Concerned Citizens Movement would have, not even been able to put probably even 20%. So many broken promises. And we can go through the list of promises that they would have made. That would probably take 2 or 3 shows. But it shows that the people are gravitating again towards the Nevis Reformation Party. They may not have been satisfied with some of the things that the Nevis Reformation Party did, but it shows that the Nevis Reformation Party is a doer and not just a talker.
And we will continue to do this work, because when you do the math, you're talking about CCM building, 110 houses in almost 5 years. They will struggle to get to that 110 mark, we think. And so you do the maths. You're talking about 20, a little over 20 houses, 22 houses per year for a 5-year term, when the NRP said, listen, 375 houses in 6.5 years. So you do the maths and see if you can take 60 something houses per year as opposed to 22 houses a year. And they're claiming that there is a housing deficit. We say that there is a housing deficit. So if you have this shortage of houses, why is it that you have slowed down the construction of houses? And how will you meet and bridge that deficit when you continue to slow down in the construction of houses? Does not make sense at all.
The simple economics of this, if you slow down construction, the whole country suffers. Why would you slow down something that is a massive injection into the economy? By slowing down to 20-something homes, the whole country feels it. So it shows that there was a lack of vision. But we must remind the people, though, gentlemen, that the first 2 years of this administration, the leadership of this party spent most of its time overseas. They did not spend time in Nevis to assess the situation, to see if there were things that they needed to tweak. What they did, they cancelled projects after projects, programs after programs, and most of it was probably done from overseas. You look at the electrical situation, the electricity situation. We should not have reached a stage where we would have island-wide blackouts. We should not have reached a stage where there would be no water for days in 2017. And I must remind the people that in Antigua, the UPP lost their government, amongst other things, but most of all was because of the water situation. In the year 2015, 2016, and an island like Antigua with no water. And here we are in Nevis, where there are days where we didn't have water. This should not have reached a situation like that.
And last night, when we were at the town hall meeting, we were getting messages from people in Hamilton to say that they didn't have water. And I'm told that it's a regular feature. During the course of this week, people have come home from work, and if they don't expedite what they are doing before they finish, water is gone. But yet still we are hearing from the government that both the electricity and the water situations have been fixed. But you just cannot fix the water situation like that. The electricity has been off this month more than it has been on in some of the pumping areas. And as a result of that, we have this shortage of water. We lost a couple million gallons of water because we were not able to pump because there was no electricity. And not only was there no electricity, the situation could have been relieved had we the generators at the pumping stations. But I'm told that of the 13 pumping stations, only about 6 of them have generators, and not all of the 6 generators are working. So there you have it. Electricity goes, and then the water goes because you cannot pump water to sustain the use that we have. And the trick is that at the present moment in Nevis, there are some class reunions happening. There are some community reunions happening, such as the Coxam community reunion. And so you have people in the island for Culturama. And with all of these persons in the island, you have the challenge of them coming from overseas, where they have electricity 24/7, where they have water 24/7, and coming home to Nevis having heard us say that there was a problem. And having heard the government side say there is no problem. And coming into Nevis last week, Friday night, for example, when Charlestown was dark. And so people coming off the pier and there was no electricity. And people in their homes getting ready to go out, and no electricity for them to iron their clothes, for them to dress themselves. No, they couldn't even take a shower. And Sunday morning, I had to go and revert to a good old trusted bucket and an ice cream container to dip the water to throw over myself so that I could shower to get up to the Gingerland St. George's Anglican Church.
You only had to do that for Sunday morning. I had to do it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, Tulu, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you. So when the water truck was at the wet fet spraying people with water, they didn't come to Hamilton to give you any water?
No, we didn't have any water. And out of the whole thing that upset me, I didn't have any water for 2.5 days prior. But the government made sure that they had water for the fun and the frolic. Had no water, no electricity, no cable, no internet, in darkness. But they made sure that they got electricity for their fun and frolic, and they made sure that they found water for their fun and frolic, while they were telling people that you must conserve water and you don't wash your car with hose and you ease off of the water in your garden because no water done. But they find water to farm fool with. And that is the part that upset me. Yeah, I mean, you have your fun and frolic. There are things that you would have to cancel. And cancel no water, they cancel that and do something else. You know, you could have still had your fun and frolic without the water. You have the music and have the dancing. And let people know, well, we can't have the water because we don't have access to water.
But Tulu, you can have a dry wet fit.
Well, that's a change in name. Listen, Mr. Paul, the disaster that we were in throughout the island, it is a slap in my face and everybody's face who had to endure that weekend without water. And then the government made sure for fun and frolic, for drunkenness and revelry and nudity and whatever it is, that you have water for them to have the thing. That shows you the priority of the government, that all they're interested in is what would appear to give them a good name. But how could you get a good name when your country, 90% of the country is out of water? But then you provide water for your fun and your frolic. But there are other things you would have had, and circumstances will cause you to say, listen, we have to tweak this because of the situation. I mean, I don't know the thing.
Tulu, wasn't Roberto Hector instrumental in getting a fire truck to put some water up in Hamilton?
That time, I think, if I could recall, there was about 13 or 14 days I had no water, non-stop.
So that same truck that would have taken 4,000 gallons down to the cultural village, that could have been diverted to Hamilton.
Could have been some water into Hamilton and other places. I mean, it was, I think when it was Saturday afternoon, yes, I had to end up, went on to the dam and got some water from the water tank. I'm saying that the last time I would have had to go to a water tank for water would have been back maybe 2005, there about only 2006 before NRP got into office, because after NRP got into office, even though that we have dire issues with water, one of the first things that Hector did, understanding the situation, he had the fire truck that brought us some water, and public works had a truck.
What year was this again?
2006.
So it goes back to what I said. When the CCM government came into office, they didn't stay around to assess the situation. Probably there was no situation to assess. But Hector stayed on the island, and he looked and he weighed out his options, and he made a decision.
The situation was a situation that stemmed from years of bad management of water in Nevis under the Concerned Citizens Movement. And people must be told that within a couple of weeks of NRP getting into office, I've heard it's about 6 weeks. I was saying it was a little longer, but somebody told me it's about 6 weeks when Mark Brantley spoke to somebody who called him from New York and asked if they had water in New York because no water in Nevis. Now, that was a damning indictment against the Concerned Citizens Movement, because here you have the government leave office, and within 6 weeks, Mark Brantley is making noise about water. Now, here we had the NRP came in 6.5 years into government and left water in such good standing that 3.5, 4 years we had water, basically non-stop, until they refuse or they run into problem, and then the issue develop. And it must be borne out that during that time, the Sicilian government was boasting that they were the ones who were responsible for having the water stable and electricity stable during those times. But as soon as a problem developed, they didn't take the blame for it. They turned around and said that is the NRP fault. But NRP would have been, had been, and is indeed a tremendous party that you could leave water in storage for the people of Nevis, that because the NRP did nothing, for 3.5, almost 4 years. I mean, these people has absolutely really no regard for people, and they believe everybody's stupid, so they speak the stupidness that they did. But again, I'm saying that to have water for wet fest, whatever it is, and I am out of water, has to go down to the dump and go all day without having a bath, going all those days without having any laundry done because the water was around, going all those days we have dishes piling up inside your house, and those that you had put away, you have to take them out. I mean, the house smells old because of dirty dishes, you have dirty clothes, and then you find water to carry out your, oh Lord of mercy upon us. You know, I mean, I was upset. We had to cancel youth fellowship the night, and I said to them, listen, I bet anybody between 9:30 and 10 o'clock water will be back, because they have the electricity will be back, because they have these things scheduled for 10 o'clock. 9:30 count was back. So then churches had to cancel things that are important and most important, because they were making preparation to make sure that what they want to take place. And so it tells us that where the priority of the government is.
Gentlemen, let's take a break. I understand we have some challenges on the mix-up link. Lots of people complaining to me on WhatsApp. We'll take a break and see if we can get that fixed. Back after this.
You're listening to Choice Community Radio, 105.3 and 105.5 FM, your community station.
Seabridge SKN announces their daily schedule between St. Kitts and Nevis. The boat departs Nevis at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. That's 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. The boat leaves St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. That's leaving St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. Seabridge SKN, bridging the gap.
Yeah, my name is Chris Martin and dancing to the fullest. You don't know. I'm here say from you want investment, development, and good education for the kids. Me have to big up NRP. You don't know. Smartin, representing for the NRP massive. Love yourself, believe in yourself. You're very important. Hashtag NRP a big deal. Alright, listen up. VIP, NRP them a VIP. Nevis and Nevis Educations, them a VIP. Ask anybody, NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. This has nothing to do with money or fame or vanity. This one is all for Nevis' worth. So big up your chest if you love the land of your birth, cause NRP will give you maximum effort. So whether you walk or you a drive car, no matter if you're white or black like tar, NRP vibes is to uplift your star. Push up on the one and tell all the haters we a big deal. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP, easy.
Good evening and welcome back to Tell Me, where we noticed that from the town hall meeting in St. James's on Monday night, the NRP candidate for that area, Virgil Brown, took a very critical but a very practical look at the Vance W. Amory International Airport and the lack of flights, the lack of movements, the lack of the opportunities to make for the airport to make money. And so Virgil spoke not only about possible plans for extending the airport runway itself, but he came up with this brilliant idea of doing everything to not only increase hangar space at the airport, but to attract a flight school, Sean. And you know that would interest you. I don't know if you heard the presentation, but he spoke about attracting a flight school so that people can learn the art of flying here in Nevis. Your impressions?
I didn't hear about it, but you opened my eyes with that one. I think that would be a great thing, because the amount of people that are interested in aviation in St. Kitts and Nevis, I think that would be a good initiative, and I will be behind him 100% with that one.
Yeah, well, it is something that would not only bring people from St. Kitts and Nevis, but you're talking about people from region wide.
Yeah, the other closest flight school is in Antigua, and I'm not sure how operational that is, but that would be, I mean, we have it, so let's use it.
May as well, because the airport is there. It is not doing a great deal. The government in Nevis, through the Nevis Tourism Authority, they are inviting people to use the airport here in Nevis, but when the ministers are traveling, they pick up their flights from St. Kitts. Not that if they want to travel from Nevis that they can get flights out of Nevis anyway, because Siboney is not doing a great deal in Nevis, but they're making a bundle of money. The subsidies for Siboney must be high. I rather suspect that we are paying to Siboney about $1 million a year to get them to fly from Nevis to San Juan, because as far as the government was concerned, they wanted to increase the number of flights. They wanted to increase the number of seats available, and they did nothing to ensure that the seats had people sitting in them. And so Siboney, whether they fly full or empty, they are reaping the benefits of coming into Nevis because of a bad agreement. The same type of agreement that the British Virgin Islands decided that they could not sustain. And so they did not renew their agreement with Siboney. It was costing them about the same thing, about $1 million a year. They couldn't manage to keep up with that. But an easy dollar country in Nevis decided that, hey, listen, we can afford that kind of arrangement. And so we always heard the old people say, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And so Nevis rushed in where the British Virgin Islands decided that they could not and would not be able to continue that kind of arrangement. And so we now have Winair, which has cut back their flights from daily, twice a day, onto just on the weekends. And so that is proving to be a serious challenge for us here in Nevis in terms of being able to move out of Nevis from Nevis. And so whereas the government is saying to you that you must fly out of Nevis, our options indicate that we are going to have to fly out of St. Kitts.
What faction of the government says that? Because while the tourism authority might be asking people to fly out of Nevis, we must not forget that Vance Amri put in place something else to get Nevis John to fly out of St. Kitts.
Correct.
And so we are here at a state where we at a crossroad, where one faction of the government is saying use Vance W. Amri International Airport, when Vance W. Amri is telling the people them to use RLB. And so where we are going from here, no wonder we have the confusion that we have here, because the government is running helter-skelter, everybody running across, everybody doing their own thing. And so the premier is saying one thing and the deputy premier is saying something else. And we are appealing to the same set of people to use it. As a matter of fact, right now it seems to be safer to fly from RLB, because what we are hearing is nothing's been done at Vance W. Amri. It is named after him, and we think that he would have been doing everything within his power to make sure that such a landmark in Nevis, the gateway out of Nevis and into Nevis, that is named after him, that something viral would have been going on there. But it is clear to me that Vance Amri doesn't give two kicks what happened in Nevis, as long as he gets some money from Timothy Harris to run around helter-skelter with, to make sure that he get his salary from St. Kitts and salary from Nevis. He don't give two kicks.
But the other challenge, gentlemen, though, must be for any practical person, any person who voted against the Nevis Reformation Party because they said they wanted to give people like double salary, double blankly a chance, having come into office promising that he was going to increase the airlift into Nevis. When you look at what we have now, there is a serious decline in the airlift out of Nevis.
The worst it has ever been.
Sean, what are the medical students doing? I've been told that they have been chartering water taxis to go to St. Martin to pick up their flights from St. Martin.
Mr. Powell, let me explain to you how bad things are at the airport. A friend of mine called a handling service at the airport on Monday because they wanted to collect something from customs and they needed to get a release. They were told that no one is going to be back in the office until Wednesday.
Wow.
Monday to Wednesday. Yeah, that is how bad things are at an international airport. And this is an airline service. No one is going to be there all of Monday afternoon, all of Tuesday, and until Wednesday, probably midday.
Well, they were saying that the airline would not have been doing any business at the airport during those times.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
I found an article here, gentlemen, off of Times Caribbean. And it says, Minister of Aviation proud of the progress with airlifts in the Federation. Dated August 21st, 2016. I'm gonna read just a few excerpts. Bear with me. Mr. Brantley, who has been working with the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Lindsey Grant, to increase airlift into St. Kitts and Nevis, quoting him as saying, "We have been instrumental in negotiating and concluding negotiations of the coming of United Airlines directly into St. Kitts from New Jersey." The minister said, not only that, but under this Team Unity administration, they have now increased their flights into St. Kitts from once a week to twice a week. I'm very pleased to be involved with the Ministry of Aviation and with new arrangements between JetBlue and Seaborne and between Delta and Seaborne. It means that Kittitians and Nevisians can now book a ticket on JetBlue direct from St. Kitts to wherever you want to go into the United States. You can now book tickets on Delta from St. Kitts to wherever you want to go into the United States via Seaborne. Now you realize what he's saying.
St. Kitts.
To date, American Airlines, Delta, and US Air conduct direct flights into St. Kitts from various destinations in the United States. American Airlines has a non-stop service from JFK on Saturdays, non-stop service on Sunday from June through August. Nothing in here about Nevis. Delta has non-stop service on Saturday from Atlanta to St. Kitts. US Air, Charlotte Douglas in North Carolina to St. Kitts. nothing about Nevis. This is the Minister of Aviation, the Nevis Minister of Tourism,
Mark Brantley,
who is working along with the St. Kitts Minister of Tourism to boost St. Kitts. This is the big secessionist, Mr. Mark Brantley. We need to remind people who he is. About 10 years ago, he was the one who was championing the cause for Nevis to secede, for Nevis to be on its own. Where is Nevis right now? Nevis cannot do anything without St. Kitts. Is this where we want Nevis to be?
And gentlemen, I want you in all of this. You must remember that the Minister of Tourism is the Deputy Premier, Mark Double Salary Blankley. He's the man who came into office making all of these promises. And I am emphatically making the point because we're coming up on another election. And in this election, he has unceremoniously kicked Van Samry aside. The same Van Samry who he said was sleeping, fast asleep, but who picked him up and brought him into politics, who made him somebody. Because with all the money that he claims that he has, he did not have the power and was just a nobody. So even though he had his money, he wanted the power. Now that he has the power, he wants more power. And he is fighting his level best to destroy Van Samry. As a matter of fact, he has already done so much to destroy Van Samry that Van Samry seems like he does not know whether he's going or coming. He just seems to be there. He knows that according to him, the rules of the party that he has been in charge of for these last 30 years does not permit the candidate for Gingerland, who they have chosen to replace Van Samry, to be picked the way that he was picked. And he indicated in the meeting which was held right up there at the cornmeal in Gingerland that some people who voted did not have the authority to vote, that the votes were invalid. But those people were put up and set up by the Deputy Premier to come to vote against Stedman Truss, who was the picked candidate by Uncle Vance. They came to vote for the candidate selected by Mark, who is Eric Evelyn. And so there you have the confusion. He coming into the party, pushing Van Samry aside, and whether you want to believe it, yes or not, Van Samry for the whole of 2017 has been nothing but a lame duck premier. But not only is he an absentee premier, but he has been nothing but a lame duck premier. He has been unceremoniously dumped. And yet still, the man who dumped him and who engineered his fall from grace is quietly hoping that Van Samry will go back to Gingerland and tell the people of Gingerland, hey, listen, I want you still to vote for the man who I did not want to replace me, but who has replaced me.
You have to go far back under to Mr. Powell, because you have to realize that from since about 1993, thereabout, Mark Brantley has indicated to the world, as far as he is concerned, that Van Samry does not fit for leadership. You remember that is way back then he described Van Samry as the greatest political cowardice that he has ever met. And so it started from there. He criticized Van Samry's neutrality and non-alignment stand. He called it foolishness, which we all know was foolishness. He would have said to Van Samry then, you were elected to represent the people of Nevis way back then, and you refused to represent the people of Nevis by being neutral. Then after all those years, he came back after that, and he would have been telling us for year after year, election after election, that Van Samry was presiding over a government that was fast asleep. To the point where in 2006, he tried to form a political party to unseat Van Samry, because according to him, Van Samry is a failure. So getting a foothold in the party in 2007 after Malcolm died, he saw that as his opportunity then and there to rally forces to get rid of Vance out of the party. And so in Mark Brantley's mindset, Van Samry should have been out of the party since 2010. That's why he would have said in 2010, a politician who have held public office for 14 years or 15 years, and he was making clear reference to Van Samry in that quote. cannot bring anything new to the national debate. The fact is, and sadly, well, not sadly, truthfully, if there's one time that Mark Brantley would have said anything that has a semblance of truth to it, is this: Vance Amri, after 14 years in office in Nevis, and came back in and in there for now for 4.5 years. In the last 4.5 years, he has not brought anything to Nevis. He has not delivered anything to Nevis. Nevis has gone back to a position where we were prior to 1980 or prior to 1983. And so Mark Brantley is right. Vance Amri is an absolute waste of time in Mark Brantley's eyesight. But the thing is, Mark is no better than Vance. So we are digging a hole to fill a hole, and we don't want a hole. And so we are not getting anywhere, because Nevis has gotten nowhere under Vance Amri, according to Mark Brantley. Nevis has gotten nowhere under Mark Brantley and Vance Amri. And Nevis will get nowhere under Vance Amri and Mark Brantley, because they has one mindset. And their mindset is, in Nevis you don't do anything. That's why you read, Sean, that everything in terms of tourism and airlift is into St. Kitts, not in Nevis, because they want to sit down and do nothing, and then go down to St. Kitts and say, give me money. And like Troy says, that they send Mark and Vance down there to watch the money. So they in St. Kitts to say how much money come in, and then to say to Timothy Harris, well, I want some money to do this, and Harris give them. And that is a bad thing, because what they have said to people, honest, hard-working people, it doesn't make any self-work. Stop work. Watch your brother and your sister and your neighbor who has, and don't go and work. You go and befriend them, and when you befriend them, then you loot from them and you beg from them every time. And so you live off of them. And that's the example that is set here. But it must be borne out that Mark Brantley as an individual has absolutely no regard for Vance Amri as a political leader. And he has said it in no uncertain terms over and over and over. Vance Amri still hasn't woke up yet. He's still the biggest political coward that the country has ever seen. And he's still a leader who has failed the people of Nevis fast asleep while his pocket get rich. The first person I see sleep and get rich, because the Bible tells me that a lazy man goes down to poverty. But this is a paradox. A lazy leader who has done nothing for his country has benefited the most out of the country. It's a paradox, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, we'll take a second break. I understand that people are now hearing us loud and clear. Thank you very much, our technicians, for fixing that. We'll be back with you right after this.
You are listening to Choice Community Radio 105.3 FM, your community station.
Seabridge SKN announces their daily schedule between St. Kitts and Nevis. The boat departs Nevis at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. That's 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. The boat leaves St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. That's leaving St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. Seabridge SKN, bridging the gap.
You're listening to Choice Community Radio 105.3 FM, your community station.
Yeah, my name is Chris Martin and dancing to the fullest. You don't know. I'm here say from you want investment, development, and good education for the kids. Me have to big up NRP. You don't know. Smartin, representing for the NRP massive. Love yourself, believe in yourself. You're very important. Hashtag NRP a big deal. Alright, listen up. VIP, NRP, them a VIP. Nevis and Novitions, them a VIP. Ask anybody, NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. This has nothing to do with money or fame or vanity. This one is all for Nevis' worth. So big up your chest if you love the land of your birth, cause NRP will give you maximum effort. So whether you walk or you a drive car, no matter if you white or black like tar, NRP vibes is to uplift your star. Push up on the one and tell all the haters we a big deal. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Navy's people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP, easy. Yeah, my name is Chris Martin and dancing to the fullest. You don't know. I'm here say from you want investment, development and good education for the kids. Me have to big up NRP, you don't know. Smartin, representing for the NRP massive. Love yourself, believe in yourself. You're very important. Hashtag NRP a big deal. Alright, listen up. VIP, NRP, them a VIP. Navies and Navisions, them a VIP. Ask anybody, NRP is a big deal. Navy's people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. This has nothing to do with money or fame or vanity. This one is all for Nevis' worth. So big up your chest if you love the land of your birth, cause NRP will give you maximum effort. So whether you walk or you a drive car, it no matter if you're white or black like tar, NRP vibes is to uplift your star. Push up on the one and tell all the haters.
Thank you very much and welcome back to Tell Me. We're just months away from the next local election here in Nevis. The trick is that 4.5 years ago, the people of Nevis voted blindly. You normally hear people telling you can't buy a pig in a bag. Well, the people of Nevis voted and bought a pig in a bag. They were told by the leader of the opposition then, Vance Winkworth Amory, you just vote for us, vote for CCM. And once you have made up your minds and you had voted for CCM, then we will develop a plan for Nevis. The problem is that 4.5 years later, the people of Nevis still can't see the plan, still can't find the plan. And why is it that they cannot find the plan? Because Van Samuel and the CCM have not developed the plan. And so as we go into another election, you look around Nevis and you will soon start to see exactly what you saw in 2006. You remember the Old Manor Accord? And you remember the signs that said that Newfound Hotel was coming soon with 513 rooms plus villas, and they were granted 600 acres of Nevis? Well, you will be seeing signs going up around Nevis to say coming soon. But when you're in politics, and you're in politics and in government as long as CCM, because you have to remember that they did not come into government for the first time in 2013. They came into government for the first time in 1992. And so they should be able to say to the people of Nevis, we did this, we did that, and they should be able to show you what they did. So anytime you see a government campaigning and saying, coming soon, you have to look back at their promises.
You had 14 hotels coming soon too, right?
18.
18
You're
hotels coming soon.
shortchanging the number of
my.
hotels. So you not only had those 18 hotels coming soon, but whenever you go down to Penny's Beach, whether you're going down to Weekends or Double Deuce or Total Time or Sunshines, look on your left-hand side when you're going down. And you're going to see a park there with an Olympic-sized swimming pool, with palms from all over the globe, and you're going to see jogging tracks, and all those kinds of nice things. And if you see those things, you can say that those were promised by Double Blankley, and he has delivered.
What happened to the sign?
The sign has gone exactly how Double Blankley should go, into oblivion. Promises don't work in politics after a whole cycle. When you promise, you must deliver. And we do not have any of the facilities that should have been down there in Pennies at the park at Pennies. Gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I went into Brownhill just last week, and I did not have a brand new Brownhill road either. I saw a patch up piece of road in Brownhill. So I don't know if that promise is also going to have a sign to say to the people of Brownhill, coming soon. But anytime you see a sign like that, I want you to read it. I fool you once, and I'm coming to fool you again.
It's unique, Mr. Powell, how from 1992 onto this point, where Van Samre and the Concerned Citizens Movement has been able to somehow dupe the people of Nevis. Let us say from 1990 to the first storm that he had, we saw some movement on the island. And Mark Brantley made it abundantly clear to me that the movement that we saw in the first year of Vance Amry term in office had nothing to do with Vance Amry and what he developed. It was the legacy of NRP and pieces that he chose to run with, because crucial ones like the Penny's lands, we know what he did with those, and other stuff, the road network, what he did with that airport. But then the most of the movement we had is something around water. And while he did not produce water, you know that he went around the island and put down a whole lot of pipe all over and no water. But after that, the second and the third term, every year, every election cycle, Van Samry sat in Nevis and did nothing. And the last year or the last 14 months of an election term, you see all sorts of things start to happen all over the place. All sorts of promises of hotels, all sorts of groundbreaking ceremony of hotels. And people voted for him based on those promises that we're going to get job, and it never happened. Now, in this cycle leading up to an election, we see the very same thing happen. And I'm reminded that a leopard cannot change its spot. And so, the question to the people of Nevis is, are we satisfied that for 4 years, Vance Amry and Mark Brantley and the others get money in their pocket, and in these cases, Vance and Mark getting 2 salaries, and they sit down for 4 years and do nothing for you. And then in the last year, they come in running helter-skelter all over the place, not on programs that they develop and budgeted for, but to do something to try to impress you. I am reminded of the story of this guy who had his girlfriend and was beating up the girl, and every time he beat her, he sent her send her some flowers, and she said, he sent me flowers today. It cost me out, he sent me flowers today. And you saw the last thing that they did, when he do send the flowers, she was dead. Okay? And I'm wondering, how much time we as people, Nivijan, going to be satisfied with that? They've been abused by a government, been abused by a leadership, and only when they want us, and I said people, that they run us like prostitute. A man who doesn't have a girlfriend, he go out on the street and he's willing to pay for some sex just because he wants ease. But he doesn't have no commitment, no connection to that woman. Some women do the same thing too. You know? And this is the way Vance Amry has treated us over the cycle of his leadership, that he does absolutely nothing for the first 4 years in office. He just sit down. And you know what happens? Every time he does that, something always come up that it costs the people a whole lot of money that we have to do over. Case in point right now is over at the racetrack that they put down. Cost overrun, and now they're saying that things went wrong. We have the same situation at the Bath Bridge. Helter-skelter without any careful planning, and you go down. Cost overrun. Have to do things, put up, take down, put up and take down, because they want to impress. I passed by the Charleston Secondary School today, and I realized that they're taking out part of the roof of the school. Up by the Gingerland School, new bathroom that was just built under Van Samry. I think it was Fish who built those bathrooms under Van Samry leadership. Oh, they see them saying, take down and demolish. I mean, things that doesn't need fixing. To create an impression they're just destroying, to put back up, it makes absolutely no sense what they're doing.
So they're taking on the bridge again over Bath, or they probably might have to do it?
I haven't been back at the bridge, but I told that they had to do some sort of maneuvering to correct the problem that they had, which will create a problem. Okay? And so you up there, this bathroom was just built about lately. Go up there still in demolition. You know, it's amazing. These people are blind.
Gentlemen, I want to show you another waste of money which the people of Nevis maybe not quite aware of yet. I'm not talking about the $1.7 million that was spent on the Culturama village. I'm not talking about that. $1.7 million. While at some of our health centers, vaccines were being left unrefrigerated. Vaccines and medicines which should be kept at a certain temperature. We were out of electricity. These health centers did not have standby generators, and so we had to be dumping whole scale. Well, I hope that they are dumping those vaccines which were left outside of the correct temperature for such a long period of time, while we spent $1.7 million on the Culturama village. And I know when we talk about this wastage of money, there are some people out there who are saying we oppose the $1.7 million spent on Culturama village. Well, I have to oppose it when the health center don't have a generator, and so that the vaccines are being spoiled. I got to oppose something like that. But are you aware, gentlemen, that the carnival in Leeds in England will be celebrating 50 years this year? Are you aware that in honor of the 50th anniversary of the carnival in Leeds, that the government of Nevis is sending 50 people to England? Sean, do some maths for me. 50 multiplied by 4,000. You're talking $200,000 for the airline ticket, and the tickets will come to more than that. Because we know that there are certain people who are not going to travel in coach. They're going to travel first class, and the first class ticket is going to cost more than $4,000. But guess what? That flight is going to land in London, more than likely at Gatwick in London. And when you get from, first of all, those 50 persons who the government in Nevis is taking up and sending off to England, they got to get from Nevis to St. Kitts. So you're talking 50 multiplied by the boat fare. That is only the first set of money. When they land at Gatwick in England, they are going to have to get from there to Leeds. If they are traveling on a coach, it is going to cost. If they are traveling on a train, it is going to cost. Plus, you're not going to take up anybody from Nevis and carry them up to England and tell them, listen, you just come for the carnival, spend 2 days and go back home. Let us assume that they will spend a week. Accommodation for a week. Meals for a week. You have to get them back to London. And then you're going to have to get them back from St. Kitts to Nevis. By my conservative estimate, the government of Nevis will be spending at least $350,000 to send 50 people from Nevis to England to participate in the 50th anniversary of the carnival in Leeds. I mean, justify that for me, gentlemen, if you will.
There is absolutely no justification. In a time when the Nevis Island administration, first of all, has no economic activities to generate revenue in Nevis, so then you're going to ask where that money come from. I guess like they might be saying, well, they get it from St. Kitts from Timothy Harris. I don't know where they're going to get it from, but no matter where it comes from, it's a waste of money. Because here it is. You're going to spend all that money to do all of this for fun and for frolic. But when you have people in Nevis dying and suffering for dialysis care, and the government is not willing to put 1 cent in helping a person who is sick. When you have a government who says that I have to cut back on homework assistance, and wherever you go around the world, every government is speaking about increasing their budget and educating their young people, and starting at the tender age from down at that kindergarten stage where we were under NRP. There's where we were. All the government are saying that they're going to do that. And Van Sam and his administration decided, no, we are not going to support this. We're going to stamp it out. When we have a government who says that we're going to give our children a computer to assist them, and they said, no, we are not going to give any more computers. And so they have not invested in developing up the people academically, socially, religiously, morally. Nothing to uplift the people, but they're going to spend thousands upon $1,000 to send people to go around the world for fun and frolic. I mean, Solomon will call them fools in the Bible, and you look inside there, this got to be absolute foolishness and madness, you know. But I do not expect anything, because Vance Amry and Mark Brantley, they will do anything to put on a show to give people the impression that they are doing something.
But how do you spend $350,000 sending people almost 5,000 miles away to participate in a carnival, to tell them in England, in Leeds in England, all is well in Nevis, when in Nevis the people suffering don't have jobs, don't have water, don't have electricity, don't have a standard of living which is allowing them to send their children to school properly and away to universities and colleges. How do you put on a show in England for the people in England when you're suffering down here in Nevis?
Mr. Paul, these are people, again, with absolutely no heart. These are people with no regard for the people. And these are people who are clear in their mind, have said to themselves that no matter what we do, they are those persons who are going to support us. We could kick them, we could slap them, we could spit on them, we could tutu in their face, and no matter what we do, they are going to watch our backs. And that is in their mindset. And so we, the people, have to show them that, no, we are not satisfied. We're not going to do this. You spend up all that money. The major place for our culture is the cultural complex. They haven't spent anything on the cultural complex to develop it up. They came in, made a plan for the development and the enhancement of the cultural complex. And there where most of the activities at Nevis are held, whether it is religious or non-religious. First place, we're going to go complex. And they haven't spent a dime on it to improve it. But they're going to improve the villa for fun and dance and for walking up and for drunkenness. Listen, I just cannot figure it out. Makes absolutely no sense.
One of the things that you have to realize about this government, and I think it was alluded to before, that especially when it comes to election, that this government tries to impress the people that are coming from overseas. And while they are doing that, we must continue to speak to them also. Because when they do come to Nevis, we must remind them of the honest mistake highway between Cotton Ground and Newcastle.
You think they don't know?
But we must remind them, because they're coming from areas where even if they have bad roads, that section of road is the worst part of Nevis, and they have to drive it. They may not be coming through the airport, and maybe that is why they are not advancing the airlift out of Nevis, because they don't want anyone to drive on that road. But if you're coming over on the Sea Bridge, you must drive there. So we must remind our visitors who are coming from overseas that that road, which was under the supervision of the now president of the federal parliament, the speaker of the federal parliament,
an advisor to the consultant to the Nevis Island administration.
But what amazes me about the speaker is that he now has the wealth of knowledge and wisdom as a speaker. But when he was in the ministry as under the CCM government, he caused Nevis taxpayers almost $20 million in cost overrun. Well, he was the minister in charge. He did come out publicly and said it was an honest mistake, and that is why I label the road as the honest mistake Mike Road between Cotton Ground and Newcastle.
Probably, he said probably.
Let's look at
an honest mistake.
Let's look at the sports track over at Long Point. When our people from overseas are coming home and the government wants to advertise it, when you're driving down Long Point, yes, look at the left and you will see that the new stadium is being built. But when you turn around to head back towards the roundabout, have a look on the left again and you will see how close the dump is to the stadium.
And the mountain is growing by the day.
And the mountain is growing, and those people, and this is something that you teach children from time they're in school. Whenever you see flies always dipping. So our guests who are coming from overseas, yes, we have a new stadium, but on the other side, and in some areas less than 1,000 feet apart, you have the island's landfill, where flies are infesting the area. So you can imagine what would happen if there's any kind of facility. Let's look again at the Bath stream. You speak about the Bath project that is going on down there. The Minister of Health said on his radio show that there are certain set of people that are nasty in the Bath stream. Who use the Bath stream more than the people of Bath? Who could he be speaking about? Is he speaking about the people that are coming in off of the ships, the hundreds of thousands of people that are coming off of the cruise ship to use the Bath stream?
What 100,000
exactly
people?
My point. So the people of Bath need to hold him and ask him to explain himself. We have the clip, and if people want to hear it, we can find it again and play it, where he said that there are certain set of people that are causing the Bath stream to be like this.
So some of the people using the Bath stream are nasty.
Put it bluntly.
And
that's what he says. Put it bluntly. Some of the people who use the Bath stream are nasty.
So
what makes them nasty? Because they use soap in the Bath stream,
which is something that the people in the vicinity have been using forever. So let us remind the people. So when they are trying to speak to the people who are coming from overseas about what they are doing, let us remind them. And let us look again. And a lot of the people who are coming home wanted to come home to a self-sustaining Nevis. But I want to tell you, a guy came and spoke to me last week, and he said, Sean, I don't believe that Nevis ever got any of the 113 or how much ever millions of dollars that they said that they got it from the federal government.
Let's come back up on that, Sean. We're overdue for a break, so we'll take a break. But let's come back up on the $113 million, because if you spend that kind of money in the economy, you must feel it. You must be able to see it. As we go to break, let me remind you that on the 30th of September, that the NEVDC Honors Banquet will be held, and that will be honoring this year Evelyn Henville, Ashley Farrell, Clara Walters, and Captain Arthur Onslin. The admission price is $120, and you're asked to purchase your tickets early. Saturday, September 30th, from 7 p.m. until 1 o'clock in the morning. And they will have music by the Image Band, and so you make sure that you put that on your calendar, the NEVDC Honors Banquet, 30th of September 2017. We'll be back right after this.
Don't leave me, girl. Hi, this is Garlic, and listen to Choice Community Radio Station 105.3, 105.5, your community radio station. Keep it locked, because this is the station I listen to all the time.
Seabridge SKN announces their daily schedule between St. Kitts and Nevis. The boat departs Nevis at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. That's 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. The boat leaves St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. That's leaving St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. Seabridge SKN, bridging the gap.
Yeah, my name is Chris Martin and dancing to the fullest. You don't know. I'm here to say from you want investment, development, and good education for the kids. Me have to big up NRP. You don't know. Smartin, representing for the NRP massive. Love yourself, believe in yourself. You're very important. Hashtag NRP a big deal. Alright, listen up. VIP, NRP, them a VIP. Nevis and Nevisions, them a VIP. Ask anybody, NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. This has nothing to do with money or fame or vanity. this one is all for Nevis' worth. So big up your chest if you love the land of your birth, cause NRP will give you maximum effort. So whether you walk or you a drive car, no matter if you white or black like tar, NRP vibes is to uplift your star. Push up on the one and tell all the haters we a big deal. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is very important, important for it. NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important, important for it. NRP, easy.
And welcome back to Tell Me. Gentlemen, the point I was making before the break, someone came to me and said the $113 million that this government is boasting about receiving from the federal government, he is of the opinion that no money ever crossed the narrows. And I asked him why would he say that? He said, Sean, if you drive around a 36 square mile island, 19 miles of road, and you would have received, let's say, close to $120 million in 2 years, you should have been able to feel it. You should have been able to see it. I mean, use your five senses. You should have been able to know that this money was injected into the economy. He said that he doesn't feel anything. And I agree with him totally, and I said it, well, not last week, the week before. You are not feeling you're not feeling anything. You're not feeling any kind of economic activity. So where is this money? What is going on? And what they are doing is not things that you would think that they would have gone out of their way. They boasted and said that they were investors waiting to come into Nevis. Well, after 4.5 years, Nevis should have been the Dubai of the Caribbean. After $120 million is not a little bit of money, guys. This is a lot of money in a small country where you boast of 12,000 people. This is something that on a Friday afternoon you drive into town. This is something that the end of the month when people are getting paid. It should have been such a vibrant economy, and I'm not feeling it. I don't know about you, Tudo, but this is strange.
It is true that we are not feeling it. I do not know whether or not it gotten here, but let's just suppose that it's gotten here. Then the question is, where is this? How much of it gone into paying Sibon for flying in and out of Nevis and having to pay them for seats that carries no passengers? How much out of that gone into paying lawyers' legal fees who are connected to members of the government? How much of it gone into programs where the members of the government are directly benefiting from their connection, their involvement, or their partnership with trucks and backhoes and equipments and what's not, paying back to them? No wonder you would have had backhoe sitting down and excavator sitting down, doing nothing, and the minister is saying, leave the backhoe on the job and pay the man the money. Pay him for a backhoe they park up. Excavator park up and being paid and doing nothing. And so if the money indeed came into the island, you look back there and you say, well, listen, here's where the money gone. It is not something that filters through the economy, but it's something that comes out of the treasury and go on and end back up into the pockets of members of the government and their close handlers.
Well,
if indeed any came, this way it's going. It is clear, because when you would have had, Sean, ministers having the public workers minister having public workers working in his private home. You see where it's going? When you would have had the track out there, the racetrack that the minister putting down, it don't has a cost overrun to it. They don't tell us that they already have mistakes inside there. They miscalculate or they misjudge. In this day and age of technology, you're misjudging. I do not know where the money gone, but indeed, in the country of Ireland, the island of Nevis, we are not feeling $113 million being injected in the country. We're not seeing it.
Let's look at it practically. The other day, Nevis had no electricity, no water. Let us not take the 113 million. I served as a minister in the Joseph Parry-led government. Give me $13 million and I would make sure that the people of Nevis have electricity and water 24 hours a day. Because all it needs for them to do is some proper maintenance on the generators that they have at Prospect.
Well,
you can get the parts and do the maintenance for less than half of the money. You can put standby generators at all of the pumping stations for less than half of the rest of the money. You want to tell me that any government that got $113 million and they are boasting big and bold, why is it for that $113 million you do not have generators at the health centers in Nevis?
That's not important to them. That's not important.
But you're talking life and death for the people of Nevis.
It's not important. You speak if there was life and death, Mr. Powell, you think that those dialysis units will not have been commissioned when you have people in Nevis dying, suffering for dialysis treatment? If they had had any heart for people, those machines would have been up, and according to Mark Brantley, he would have already brought the 2 or the 4 more that he had promised, and we'd have more an expansion. But it's because they do not care. You got to understand that these government ministers, they're all about themselves and how much that they are going to get. It's one of the junior ministers who was boasting in one shop that, listen, I only want 1 term in office, and after that 1 term, me and my family will be set for life. And these are the mentality. They only want to get in there because they know when they get in there what they're going to do to enrich themselves. And so they're only interested about themselves. You are interested about the people of Nevis, so you would take that money and make sure that it is spent on something that is beneficial to the country, not them. They're going to spend the money on something where it's going to circulate and get back into their own pocket. That's what's going to happen. What? And then you have vision. Those are people with no vision. You have foresight. Those are people with no foresight. You came into office and you came in with a plan. And you work according to your plan. And that's why you were able to accomplish so much in Nevis, where Mark Brantley would have said, in non-certain terms, that the NRP in 5 years seems as if that they want to outdo what Van Samri and his administration did in 14 years, because he understood that there was things taking place, and that is what they were going to want to tell people that NRP was doing too much. Notice they never said to the people NRP did nothing, no. They said to the people of Nevis, NRP as a party was doing too much for the people of Nevis. And so the people of Nevis bought it and said NRP doing too much, yes. And so they came into office and said, well, listen, we don't have to do as much as NRP. I mean,
they don't have to do anything at all.
They don't have to do, you're right, don't have to do anything at all.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Powell. In the House of Assembly, I think I heard the Minister Alexis Jeffers speaking about the Newcastle police station. Did he say that they are presently waiting for bids?
Yes. Said that it is out to tender, they're waiting for bids, and that shortly they will make an announcement.
So why is it that there was such a rush to tear down, relocate? And I'm looking at the article here from the St. Kitts Nevis Observer, November 11, 2016, where he's quoted as saying that he would not live there for a day, he wouldn't stay there for a week, and he wouldn't stay there for a month. If he knew that back in 2016, Why is it that they're still waiting for bids for the reconstruction of the police station?
Great question.
No, when I heard it, I thought I heard something wrong because they was freezing a bit, and I was thinking maybe I missed something. But this is what he said at a town hall meeting in Cotton Ground back in 2016. He said, "This is a decision." I'm quoting him. "This is a decision that is long overdue. I wouldn't live there for a day. I wouldn't stay there for a week. I wouldn't stay there for a month. The police has been living there for years. I believe they are under living conditions that many of us would not want to spend a night under those conditions. It is that bad." Why is it that 2017, almost a year, why is it that he's still waiting for bids to reconstruct the Newcastle police station?
But here is another question to go with that question, Sean and Tulu. I mean, they said that it's out to tender, but did you hear who is the architect? Did you hear that a design was done? Did you hear that it was presented to the police for their approval, or with the assistance that did the design? Did you hear that the people were able to make contributions, give some comments on that drawing?
Listen.
None of that. Who are the persons who have been invited to bid?
I believe that is as factual as when Matt Brantley would have said to us that the EIA is already down at the library when the people who are doing it still was in possession of it up to 15 days later. That is true. But let us get back here. We're looking at police station. The Kangwang police station was in bad situation. NRP came into office, understood that the situation was bad, but you came in with a plan already in mind to build a police station, so that's why when you got in there, you wouldn't have scratch in your head. Don't come in already. The location where it is, it cannot be placed, it's too small. Find location and build one. What Alexis is saying there makes no sense, and he said that he hasn't learned anything. Makes absolutely no sense. And again, I keep saying that these people speaks to us like we are set of dummies.
Well, here's another thing that he says. And again, reminding the listeners that this is November 2016. He explained that though the station will be leveled, they are working on having some presence still in terms of physical presence. But we know that when they closed the police station, there was no presence of police in the St. James area. He's quoting again and saying, "We are securing what we call an outpost and have at least 2 police around the clock in that particular building, ensuring that if someone passes by to make a complaint, they can."
But the outpost came after they go along with the dialysis unit.
No, the ATM.
Sorry, ATM, you're right. The ATM, that's when it came.
He says that if someone calls, they can get someone there. We are not going to close the station and totally abandon St. James, he assured. And again, this is November 11, 2016. This is what the Honorable Alexis Jeffers is telling the people of St. James.
November 11,
2016.
And the station was closed when?
I don't remember the
November
date.
the 15th, 2016. And the ATM machine went long November the 15th, 2016, right?
He says Jeffers informed that once construction begins, it will take a 14-month period to complete, and the station will be officially closed for demolition in the next 2 weeks. We are going to bring a brand new state-of-the-art police station to Newcastle to serve the people of Newcastle, the people of St. James, and by extension, the entire island. But July 2017, the minister says that he's still waiting for bids. This shows that the minister has no vision. This shows that the minister has no plan. It shows that he is the minister of the largest in size, St. James. And he has abandoned the people of St. James. He has basically lied to the people by saying that we will not abandon St. James. But when the police station was closed, there was no police presence in St. James. The medical university, which we boast of so much, if there was a student who was raped or attacked or whatever the case may be, as he says, if they had a complaint to make, there was no police in that area.
But while he said that, the Premier of Navy said something else, because the Premier of Navy says that the police will be dispersed. Some will be in Gingerland and some will be in Cotton Ground. The Premier never spoke of a police presence in Newcastle. We hear from this program here was saying to the Premier when they said that they're going to close the station, do not close it until you establish a police presence somewhere in the community. And he did not take our advice, our admonition. And then it's only after the ATM machine went missing, then a police presence came back in the community. And so while he was talking about leaving a police presence, the Premier of Nevis, who is in charge of police in Nevis, says to the Nevisians that the police will be placed at Newcastle and Cotton Ground. And when you call them, they'll get there in quick time.
So the place that is opposite the airport where the police are now stationed, is that considered an outpost?
Well, that's what we're going to call the outpost now.
Where at least 2 police are there around the clock?
That's the outpost.
But isn't the government paying rent for that spot?
But they should have done it from the beginning. Before you close the airport, the police station, you should have looked, since you're speaking about outpost, but I'm sure this is an afterthought on him, because he could not have made that decision, because that is not a decision that is under his purview, because the Premier is in charge of policing in Nevis, security of Nevis. So it would have come under the Premier. The Premier, speaking as his capacity of being in charge of the police,
National
says
security.
That the station will be closed, yes, and the officers will be placed at Cotton Ground and Gingerland. Never a mention from the Premier, who was in charge, that there will be an outpost anywhere in the area.
Yeah, but how could you have something like national security where you destroy a police station, you have the police renting an apartment, a house, and there's no immediate construction of the brand new state-of-the-art, as he says, police station?
Listen, again, you are speaking to, when you speak to people who has the ability to think and to sit down and plan, you speak there. These are people who jump along now and again. Let me see what we're going to do here. Okay, we're going to do this. Or scratch your head again. Let me see what we're going to do tomorrow. You're not going to get anywhere like that. There has no proper planning. The Minister Alexis Jeffers clearly, with what he says and what the Premier is saying, is showing you that they're not on the same wavelength. The Premier said one thing, Alexis Jeffers is saying a next thing. Who is in charge?
Yeah, but it scares me when I see excavators destroying buildings, because what I have seen. Look at those buildings at Government Road.
Look close at the excavators and see who the excavators belong to and how close those excavators are tied to the government.
Yeah, but I understand that, but I'm seeing a trend of pushing down, destroying, but I'm not seeing anything about rebuilding. That is the part that is worrisome to me, because if you pass through Government Road, they have a little poster of a new building that is supposed to come.
Soon to come.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. These things probably cost about $80 to print. You get piece of plywood and you stick it on and say that it's coming soon. But we know that when it comes to this government, coming soon is their favorite term.
Newfound was coming soon.
A lot of these things are coming soon. So when I see, even when they started at Gingerland, with the excavator and tearing down, it kind of makes me a little worrisome, because it's easy to break down but it's hard to rebuild. And I saw the post by Marvin, and I think he said that students and teachers would have a surprise in September, and that was an open statement to me. A surprise in terms of there would be no school in September because then they have not rebuilt. There will be a brand new school. I'm not sure what the position would be, but I want to remind, before we go back to you, Mr. Powell, that when this administration took over, remember the bars down at Pinnins, that were also bulldozed. And that is how he got the term as the bulldoze minister. Just continue to push down.
Marvin is an interesting character. He's a fellow who came down from the States to be the public relations officer to Mark Brantley and could not find a job in Mark's ministry, having served Mark from all the way in the United States. And so he was shipped off to be the public relations officer to Premier Van Samwe. But Van Samwe gave him the name and the title and paid him a salary, but never even took him to the end of the Navy Spear. The public relations officer to the Premier, who issued one statement for and on behalf of the Premier, and never ever was able to craft a statement, craft a speech, represent the Premier to do anything on his behalf. And when his 2 years and the contract were up, he was sent through the door. And now he's out there for all intents and purposes, trying to see how best he can prop up double salary blankly. And this is a fella who has been looking for contract after contract from the government and from Culturama and everything to do with government. But I'm not going to talk about him. I'm going to leave him up to himself as he continues to break news. And he continues to say what will come. And he continues to post in public something totally opposite to what he tells people in private. I'm going to leave him up to himself for the time being. The only thing I will say about him is that here is a fellow who has nothing good to say about NRP, but who wanted to manage the campaign for Virgil Brown with a down payment of $25,000.
Wow.
Pay him $25,000 as a down payment to run the campaign for Virgil Brown. I wouldn't tell you how much he wanted in total to run the campaign, to manage the campaign for somebody who is in a party who he does not like. And yet still, let me not tell you about these I will not tell you about these rubber checks that he has got all over the place. And when you drop rubber, it bounce.
All I'm
I
saying,
ain't gonna tell you about them rubber checks.
All I'm saying, he is an ex-opportunist.
Another opportunist, but I will leave him alone and concentrate on the election that we have in front of us. Because I want people to understand that in the Nevis Reformation Party, if you can remember when you did not have lights and water, you are doing well. I want people to understand that one morning my Uncle Vance woke up and he didn't have water for 15 minutes. And he spoke about it on the radio. And he spoke about it on the platform.
And not only spoke about it, he said that he was annoyed.
15 minutes he didn't have water. And when the people of Nevis did not have water for days and days and days and didn't have electricity, he vexed when people said that they are annoyed that they didn't have electricity for days and days and days. But I'm not going to be talking to you about that tonight. I want to say to you tonight that there is a playfield over there in Zion which the government has spent $500,000 on and they can't get it finished. What used to be the highest part of the field is now the lowest part of the field, because they had to make sure that they go out there and do all kind of unnecessary cutting. Cannot finish the playing field. But worse than that, when the NRP got into government in 2006, just weeks before the elections, work started on a building that they said was going to be a community center. Some kind of rush job plan was done. And when the NRP stopped the building and said, hold on, wait, we have checked with some builders and they said that what is happening here is not good for the community. Van Samwe, the Premier, went up and down the country trying to convince people in Zion and in Gingerland that what NRP did was wrong to stop the project. And we willfully stopped it and that it should be completed. But the man came back into office in 2013. Vance is being pushed through the door by Mark. But yet still, as he is going through the door after 4.5 years in office, the same building that he quarreled and said NRP should have finished, they have not put one single block on what was there when they left. They have not driven one single nail. They have not done anything to further the project there in Zion. But they said that NRP was wrong to stop the project. If NRP was wrong to stop the project, one of the first things they should have done when they got back into office, since the plan was so good, was to continue the project. But they have come to the realization that they were shortchanging the people of Zion. They have come to the realization that the plan that they had for the building was an awful plan. And that whereas they said that they were going to go upstairs, put in a concrete floor and go upstairs and have seating upstairs, that if they had done that, the whole thing was liable to collapse. And so nothing has been done. But yet still CCM is blaming NRP for not doing any additional work. They came and spent $500,000 in Zion on the field. $500,000 on the play field. And not a single dollar on the building. So if NRP were wrong, does that make Van Samuel right not to continue?
What he started.
What he started?
He started it.
Oh, gentlemen.
And then he's afraid to touch what he started. But NRP should have continued what he started. And when he fall down, they say, listen, you see what the NRP people did? His own foundation that he put there, he's afraid to build on the very foundation that he put up. He's a strange individual. Now, there's something here, Mr. Powell, because I'm looking at something here on this computer, and it tells me that Vance Amory does not understand the role of the Nevis Island administration. He does not understand the role of government in Nevis. And so that is why he is comfortable back in St. Kitts, fulfilling the role of Minister of Nevis Affairs. Because when we had a Ministry of Nevis Affairs, it was the federal government or the St. Kitts Nevis government then that was taking play of the infrastructural development in Nevis, and they give us $10,000 per year and what's not. We look to them for a handout. After we got independent and we have our own government was given the responsibility to take care of Nevis outside of national security. Am I not correct? Now, he said here, I'm quoting something from Mark Brantley, because he said here, and I quote, and he said he was told this by Premier Amory. He says the history of the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis has not been good. He says Amory continued, primarily because the central government did not take interest in the people of Nevis in terms of the development of its infrastructure and in terms of the development of its services. This Nevis has its own government, and the Constitution gives Nevis the right to do these. All of these things that he's saying that the central government didn't do, Nevis did under the leadership of Simeon Daniel. Nevis did under the leadership of Joseph Parry, and he feels like that is the role of the federal government to do that. But here's Mark Brantley. Mark Brantley went on to say that we have matured, Brantley said. We are past the stage when we want anyone to take care of us. We want to take care of ourselves. Now here, while this is a conversation between Mark and Vance, while Vance is bawling to Mark and say, Nevis has not gone forward because the federal government hasn't taken care of us, Mark Brantley is there saying, listen, Nevis has matured to the point where Nevis can take care of itself. Now we have seen that Vance Amory is still in that stage whereby he's looking for St. Kitts to take care of us, infrastructure service and all the services in Nevis. But Mark Brantley has now joined him. Because when Mark Brantley was saying that we have developed to the stage where we do not need anybody to take care of us, now Mark and Vance has taken us back to St. Kitts where we are dependent upon St. Kitts to take care of us.
Well,
and so who is us?
That is why I keep saying we have now gone back almost 40, 50 years. I can't even say back to independence, to the 80s. We have gone back further. So when this secessionist, Mr. Brantley, is saying that Nevis has matured, that we don't want anyone to take care of us, isn't he spending 95% of his time in St. Kitts, the same place that he was trying to get Nevis away from? Isn't he spending 95% of his time in St. Kitts in the federal parliament advocating for this stuff for St. Kitts and not doing anything for Nevis?
Sure, it's amazing. And it goes back to what you read earlier. When we were talking about airlift and airline services, that Mark Brantley would have gone to a press conference and gave out a statement. And Nevis Airport is shutting down. And he spoke everything about St. Kitts and nothing about Nevis. But it's interesting. Because wherever Vance Amry goes, Mark Brantley take the opposite road. And again, Mark Brantley believed that Vance Amry is so backward. That Mark told us that he has $1 million that was given to him to assist the underprivileged children in Nevis. That is money for the education of the people of Nevis. Who is the education minister? Vance Amry. When pressed on the money, who he said that is developing a plan for the disbursement of the money? He didn't say he gave the mandate to somebody in the education department, you know? He didn't put it in somebody's hand under Vance Amry. He said that he, give the mandate to try labor to develop a plan for the disbursement of the money.
Where's the plan?
The point is that Mark Brantley continues to say to Vance Amry subtly and to the people, Vance Amry is unfit. Because here it is, in a conversation he says earlier in the report that he was sitting on his porch, Vance Amry porch, looking down at the palm trees, so that is some time back when palm trees was there, the coconut trees at the beach, and they're having this conversation. Vance is telling him that Nevis has not progressed under his leadership because the federal government did not invest in the infrastructural development and the services of Nevis. That is why he's complaining. But then Mark, on the other hand, is saying in his rebuttal to that, and I don't believe that he rebutted right in front of Vance Amry, saying that Nevis had matured to a point, and he is right in that sense, because the Nevis Reformation Party put Nevis on a footing by itself that we didn't have to be begging. And Mark Brantley says that we had matured to the point where we did not need anybody to look after us because we were taking care of our own selves, and he was correct. The problem that the people of Nevis must have now, that all these is later, because this is a quote from 1998, when they were talking about they want to go independent. And so while Vance was talking about independence and Mark was talking about independence for Nevis, Mark was saying that Nevis was poised and ready for independence because Nevis was taking care of its own self.
What is
1998.
What is his position now?
Now today in 2017, Mark Brantley and Vance Amry have us begging at the mercy of Timothy Harris in St. Kitts for our survival. So they have taken us backward.
I want to make one small point here. Just got it from one of our very many listeners. He said, listen, find out how many people work in the Ministry of Nevis Affairs. Vance Amry is the Minister of Nevis Affairs. How many people work in the Ministry of Nevis Affairs?
One. Nobody from Nevis.
Might only be Vance. But the second part of the question is, how many of those persons working in the Ministry of Nevis Affairs from Nevis?
None.
Because you see, Vance Amry, as the Premier of Nevis, did not have to be designated Minister of Nevis Affairs, but that is a federal position. So by not employing Nevisians to work in the Ministry of Nevis Affairs in Bastille, he missed the opportunity to have the federal government pay the salaries of some Nevisians.
So his secretary is not a Nevisian?
Well, we have not heard that Vance Amry has taken one person from Nevis to work with him in the Ministry of Nevis Affairs. But that should have been
something that he could have negotiated big. If you're going to give me a Ministry of Nevis Affairs, he could have employed 10 people.
Sean, in fact,
and they didn't even have to go to Bastille to work because there is a federal office in Nevis. They could have been working from the federal office.
The Ministry of Nevis Affairs is a step down from the Premier of Nevis, Sim Daniel, in 1983 when he became the Premier of Nevis.
But the point,
the Ministry of Nevis Affairs went to the door.
The point that the person is making is that nobody from Nevis has benefited on the Vance.
Well, keep on telling man the K.
Nobody has benefited.
He benefited.
And even back to the article where what I read with Mr. Brantley as the Minister of Aviation, he could have spoken more about Nevis than about St. Kitts.
He's not interested.
Because he's the federal minister of both Nevis and St. Kitts.
Prosperity in Nevis is prosperity in St. Kitts. Airlift into St. Kitts is airlift into Nevis.
Guys, I think we're overdue for a break.
This is what he says. So that's why he's going to speak there. And then, listen, no wonder Vance Army said to us in his last budget for December, where he says to Navy John, look to St. Kitts for work, for employment, because he know he has no intention to do anything in Nevis to develop Nevis. So both Mark and Vance says to us in no uncertain terms, look to St. Kitts for our survival. After we were given a country according to Mark Brantley that we were proud of, and Mark Brantley highlighted the development in infrastructure and all of the things that took place in Nevis under the Nevis Reformation Party. And he concluded that we have a country that we were proud of. The question is, could we say the very same thing today? And the answer must be no.
Before we take the break, there are a lot of people who would have supported the Nevis Reformation Party back in the 70s with the position of secession that would have gone over now to the CCM. I'm wondering now, how are they sleeping comfortably? If they are sleeping comfortably at night, knowing that we are now back to the 1950s. Marshall, let's take a quick break.
This is the Magic Man. You listen to Community Radio, Choice 105.3 FM. Keep it locked. Keep it locked. Keep it locked. Keep it locked.
Seabridge SKN announces their daily schedule between St. Kitts and Nevis. The boat departs Nevis at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. That's 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 6 p.m. The boat leaves St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. That's leaving St. Kitts at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2, 4, and 7 p.m. Seabridge SKN, bridging the gap.
Yeah, my name is Chris Martin and dancing to the fullest. You don't know. I'm here say from you want investment, development, and good education for the kids. Me have to big up NRP. You don't know. Smartin, representing for the NRP massive. Love yourself, believe in yourself. You're very important. Hashtag NRP a big deal. Alright, listen up. VIP, NRP, them a VIP. Nevis and Nevisions, them a VIP. Ask anybody, NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. This has nothing to do with money or fame or vanity. This one is all for Nevis' worth. So big up your chest if you love the land of your birth, cause NRP will give you maximum effort. So whether you walk or you a drive car, no matter if you're white or black like tar, NRP vibes is to uplift your star. Push up on the one and tell all the haters we a big deal. NRP is a big deal. Youth education is very important. Important for it. NRP is a big deal. Nevis people a big deal. Okay, very, very, very important. Important for it. NRP, easy.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to Tell Me for final moments for this week. Tulu, as I indicated when we started, we have finished the first round of town hall meetings where we reached out to people. And while the rent to own apartment idea and the rent to own housing situation that the Nevis Reformation Party is bringing to Nevis, something new, something imaginative, something bold. Well, that is catching on. I must also tell you that another idea which is catching on is the whole idea of getting rid of this $5,000 environmental levy on used vehicles.
I always oppose to it. Always. From the beginning they came up with it, I never liked it. I decided it was wrong. And I'm happy to hear that it is being, according to Donald Trump, it is being repealed or will be repealed. It was wrong. It was wicked. Now, my thing is, if you're going to take that money and you're going to put it into a pool to deal with something in the environment, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But I knew that it wouldn't have been going to nothing with it for the environment. It was wrong.
And another great idea which is reaching out, teachers who have finished their training and worked for 5 years, the Nevis Reformation Party is saying, listen, you have to get to work. And for you to get to work, the NRP will be offering you duty-free on a vehicle.
Brilliant idea. You know why? The Premier of Nevis, he will get one duty-free. The Deputy Premier, and you as a minister, you would have gotten one duty-free too, right? Now, the education that you have, where it comes from? Teachers. Teachers are the backbone of the country. They should be looking after them. I'm happy that we have people with vision to understand. If we cannot give them an increase in their salary, we'll give them something to make them happy, duty-free. I support it 100%.
And this is not just restricted to teachers, but there is something in the manifesto for civil servants, for nurses, for police officers. We are saying that the people of Nevis deserve to benefit, and that not just the ministers of government should enjoy the spoils of the office.
Oh, hallelujah.
Because you become a minister of government and you qualify immediately for duty-free status. What about a civil servant who has been out there for 10 years, for 15 years, who has been working?
I do not have my glasses, right? But what you just saying is in line with the Bible, no? The Bible speaks in about kings or the leadership of the country. And you know what's happened? That the king should not, the leader should not be involved in amassing riches for themselves, you know? It is a duty of the leadership to empower and to build their people. But here we have a government that is bent and hell-bent on enriching themselves at the expense of the people. When the mandate from God, who instituted the kingship and the leadership over the land, it says that the king is set there to enhance and to empower and to guide the people in the right path. NRP party was built on that platform, and I'm happy to hear this, that there is something inside there for our teachers in the future, for our healthcare practitioners, and for our law enforcement. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Politicians getting too much. When we have premier getting 2 salaries, and all these folks, they're getting too much.
And it is time for the ordinary people of the country to benefit.
Oh, bless the Lord. You have something here for non-established workers too?
Of course, we want to make non-established workers regular workers.
Oh,
so that they too can qualify for benefits when they finish work.
I came too early.
but the other people can benefit though.
Oh, bless the Lord for those who will benefit. I am so happy about this. You know, people with the vision, people with the key, and that is the role of government. The role of government, and this is why the NRP party was set up, to empower the people of Nevis through education, employment, land or property ownership. And when people has education, they are working and they has property. They are empowered. The Vance Army administration says to the people, no, don't buy no land. Do not go to work. Sit down home, and they find all sort of fault, and people join them. I am happy.
One of the plans that came out on Wednesday night, just last night, up there at the community center at Hard Times from Corey Tyson, which I like very much. Nevis and Nevisians have been engaged in the tourism product for a long time, but there is no hospitality training institute at Nevis. And so Corey Tyson brought forward this idea that one of the abandoned properties. I call it abandoned. The owners might say it's not abandoned. But the Old Manor Hotel can be used as a hospitality training institute. And he had this great imaginative idea that since we have people working at the several different hotels around the island, perhaps a hotel like Four Seasons might want to sponsor one of the rooms. So they will outfit that room as one of their rooms at the hotel. And we know every now and again they change furniture and so on. So rather than selling off all the old furniture, you might want to put the furniture and furnishings from one of the rooms at one of the rooms at that hospitality training institute. And so when you train people, you would be training people as if they were actually working at the hotel.
Oh, yes.
And then have something like that, for example, from Old Manor can sponsor, not Old Manor, Golden Rock can sponsor a room, Nisbet's Plantation, Mount Nevis, Wally Beach Hotel, all of the hotels in Nevis can decide that, listen, this is the pool that we want to tap. And so if, for example, you're looking for a new worker to work in the hospitality industry, you might say to yourself, I want somebody who is certified as a barmaid or a barman, whatever it is, and who is bringing to me the credentials from the Hospitality Training Institute. So truly you want a job to be on the grounds, you must know what the standards from this particular hotel is. You want to work as a housemaid, you must say to us that you have been trained at the Hospitality Training Institute. And you wouldn't be training people in just the one room. So you just train people in the Four Seasons room, in the Oli room. You train people on the entire hotel.
So they know how all the hotels operate.
Exactly.
So then we're speaking about training and internship in one.
Because you would be using it as a live institute, in that you would be having guests coming to stay there. So it is not that you will be working on an empty room. And this idea brought forward by, just from the NRP, Corey Tyson. You have never heard anything like this coming from the other side. So we are saying to you that that was a magnificent idea, to have a hospitality training institute where you would be taking guests, you would be doing all the operations of a hotel, from cooking to serving the food to the people, to bartending, to looking after the rooms, everything. And Corey Tyson, when you brought up that idea, I'm sure that people all around Nevis said, this is vision and the kind of vision that Nevis needs.
I listened to a bit of the parliament in Antigua today, and a lady was on, I don't know who she was because she was there. And she was alluding to something like this, in Antigua, to develop, so you have to rethink our tourism product, to get in the local involved into training and what's not, and involving even in setting up their own local operation with some of the same perks that we give to foreign investors, to the people. It's a brilliant idea. I'm happy that I heard it, that it was mentioned last night. Before today, I already said like he heard the lady from Antigua and copying. But we are well ahead. That's brilliant, Mr. Well, brilliant.
Well, we've come to the end of another show. It was really, really, really good speaking to you here this evening and allowing you to hear some of the things which are happening here in Nevis. Let's hope that we can go through the whole Culturama with electricity and with water and with a government.
My water's still going off.
Know that we have so many people coming back home from all over the world. I am told that the two ministers have decided that they are going to stay in Nevis now, because they don't want people to come home and they are still going to St. Kitts every day to work in St. Kitts. So they are planning to be home for Culturama.
To meet
but
people.
As soon as you're gone, they're going to revert to going back to St. Kitts 5 days a week to work in St. Kitts. That is if they are back from the carnival in Leeds, where we are going to be spending $350,000 to send 50 people up to Leeds to take part in the 50th anniversary of the Leeds Carnival. But whatever you do for Culturama, we want you to be safe. We want you to make sure that you do things in moderation. And we want you to realize that after all the fetting and the walking up and the whining and the drinking and the eating, that there is an election which is coming. and that we have a government that has waited for 4.5 years and the investors still have not come off the ship. They are still out there someplace. There is still no geothermal. There is still no dialysis units working at the Alexandria Hospital. The $18 million wing that they are putting up there is soon coming. That the pier that they refuse to do an EIA for, and the land, 1 acre land that we bought out there for $4 million, $5 million we are going to spend over there on that pier.
$80-something per square foot.
Per square foot. It is coming soon. That I want to tell you that scholarships for your children coming soon. That jobs for the people who have just left secondary school coming soon. But guess what?
Those who left 4 years ago were coming soon too.
Still coming soon.
Oh,
but guess what? There is an election to change the government in Nevis that is coming soon. That is what I want you to bear in mind as we leave you this evening. Have a good night. God's willing.
Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need.
Listen.
Caller, you want to tell me and then we tell you what.
Learn.
My passion first is for young men to be what we used to call in the boys brigade, sure and steadfast.
Tell me, a choice program on Thursdays from 8 to 10 p.m. It's eye-opening.
Hello. I want to tell the people them be careful what they call Nevis people. Anybody calling us trash, we're gonna lick you and we're gonna lick you real hard.
Thought-provoking.
You old people you're calling outsiders.
No. Interesting.
Hush your mouth, because you don't even know the facts. Oral Martin should have make it his business to notify NNC.
Oh, you work at NNC?
And let me know.
And entertaining. Tell me. Heard all over the world on www.choicefm1053.com. What have you got to say? Calling on area code 869-469-5300. From the USA or Canada, call 203-983-8903. From your cell phone, call 662-5304 or text 1053 or email tellmechoice@yahoo.com. Nivisions, near and far, your chance to call in on Tell Me on Choice Community Radio.
Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, baby.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are not necessarily those of Choice FM, Community Radio, or its advertisers.